by Dr. Iftik Hayul Hako 33342570013. History and Importance of Hadith. P2Q2. Q1 Compulsory. Q2 in two parts. Part A, 10 marks, descriptive details. Part B, for marks, explanation and evaluation. History of Compilation of Hadith. Unlike the compilation of the Quran, the process is spread over 3 centuries. 1. During the Prophet's life, and during the age of the companions, up to 100 AH companions were keen to preserve Prophet's instructions, approvals, disapprovals, etc. During Prophet's life, only preservation of Hadith. Many companions got devoted to the task of noting down the Hadith Prophet's own instructions. E.g. Take the help of your right hand, his advice to a companion who had weak memory. Many emerged as noted memorizers of Hadith, e.g. 4 Abdullahs, 4 companions whose first name was Abdullah, and they were sons of Hazrat Umar, Hazrat Abbas, Hazrat Zubair and Hazrat Ammar bin al-As. Also Hazrat Abu Hurairah, Hazrat Aisha and Hazrat Anas bin Malik. The Prophet's letters, treaties, judgments were also part of the earliest Hadith literature. Oral transmission of Hadith by thousands of companions settled in the remote, newly conquered territories. His written pledge of protection given to Suraka bin Malik during his journey of migration to Medina in 622 AD. The written set of instructions for Abu Shah after the conquest of Mecca. After listening to his sermon, he asked the Prophet to give it in writing for his guidance. Students, teachers of Hadith had to travel long distance in search of Hadith. Some early compilations included Compilation of Imam Muhammad b. Muslim Shihab al-Zuhri, 51 to 124 AH, 70 to 742 AD. Sahifa Ammar bin Hazm, Dictates of the Prophet to Ubay bin Ka'b about rules concerning purification, charity, other taxes, etc. Sahifa Siddiqa with 10,000 hadith, compiled by Abdullah bin Ammar bin al-As, Sahifa Ali and Sahifa Anas bin Malik. Companions sprang in several Arab and non-Arab areas along with the Muslim armies. Ibn Abbas in Mecca, Ibn Mas'ud in Kufa, and Salman al-Farsi in Isfahan established centers of hadith teaching. Usually the youngest companions became a reliable source of hadith collection. Abu Hurairah reported the greatest number of ahadith, 5,400, though he used to say, "There is no one more knowledgeable of the sayings of the Messenger than me except Abdullah bin Ammar. I would preserve them in my heart, but he would write them down." Abu Hurairah remained with the Prophet for only 3 years. Abdullah bin Umar was just 23 when the Prophet died, reported 2,600 traditions. Anas bin Malik, given by his mother as a baby to the Prophet, reported 2,300 traditions. Ibn Abbas, who was a teenager on the Prophet's death, reported 1,700 traditions. Hazrat Aisha reported 2,210 traditions. All such transmitters are called the Mukithirin, those who reported several hundred traditions. These reporters utilized their young age, excellent memory, and enthusiasm to learn, in reporting such a great number of ahadith. Many companions kept special notebooks, the Sahifas, e.g., Sahifa Ali, Sahifa Siddiqa of Ibn Ammar bin al-As, Sahifa Sahiha of Hammam bin Munabi from Abu Hurairah, and Sahifa of Hazrat Aisha compiled by Urwa bin Zubair. By Dr. Iftik Hayul Hako 33342570013. 2. Age of the Tabain, successors of companions. 2 ND Hijra century, 100 to 200 AH, 720 to 820 AD. They learned from the companions, recorded the ahadith reported by their teachers, kept their suhaf containing sayings, deeds and judgments of the Prophet. Sahifa of Hammam bin Munabi contains 138 ahadith, received from Abu Hurairah. Gradually, the oral tradition was replaced by the written work. However, the ahadith had to be heard in order to avoid any mistake in understanding their meanings, as there were no diacritical marks used in those days. Imam Shahab al-Zuhri declared the writing down as a precondition for transmitting hadith. Huge hadith literature in circulation and need to start compilation of hadith. The Umayyad Caliph Umar bin Abdul Aziz, 717-719 AD, wrote to Abu Bakr bin Hazm, d. 737, in Medina to collect hadith. Compilation work began and many compilations appeared together with the growth of the four Sunni schools of thought, the Malikis, Hanbalis, Hanafis and Shafi'i, after the four Imams Malik, Ahmed bin Hanbal, Abu Hanifa and Shafi'i. Two main compilations, 1. Al-Muwatta by Imam Malik and 2. Musnad-i Ahmed by Imam Ahmed bin Hanbal. Al-Muwatta, divided into chapters, collection of the agreed-upon opinion, tradition of the people of Medina, a Muzanaf type of hadith book. Hadith, legal thinking, about 2,000 hadith with legal judgments based on the Quran, hadith, and the agreed opinion of the Medinian people. Such a book has chapters on various themes of hadith, with the names of the first narrator, a companion, helpful for legal thinking. A little later, there was a shift from Muzanaf to Musnad type of hadith collections. Musnad-i Ahmed, a Musnad type of hadith compilation with hadith listed together under the name of first transmitter, Rawi, of hadith from the Prophet, ahadith reported by various groups of the companions, e.g., the four caliphs, the wives of the Prophet, etc. 27,700 ahadith, 1/4 to 1/3 are repeated ahadith. Such a book is helpful in studying about some particular narrator. Work completed by his two sons after his death. 3. Age of Tabi'in, successors of Tabi'in, 200 to 300 AH, 3rd Hijra century. Final phase of hadith compilation. Hundreds of thousands of ahadith, a mix of genuine and other types of hadith, need to segregate genuine, authentic, sahih, from other traditions. Checking the matn, text, and isnad, chain of transmitters of hadith, to ensure genuineness of each hadith. Compilation of al-Sahih al-Sitta, the 6 authoritative books of hadith, by the 6 major collectors. 1. Sahih Bukhari 2. Sahih Muslim 3. Jami' of Tirmizi 4. Sunans of Ibn Majah 5. Sunan of Abu Dawud 6. Sunan of al-Nasa'i. Golden Age of Hadith compilation, Imam Bukhari, foremost among the 6 major compilers. Bukhari spent 16 years in shortlisting the reliable ahadith, 7,397 out of a total of 600,000 ahadith, wrote his opinion on many legal matters. His student Imam Muslim also worked extensively. Muslim shortlisted a total of 2,762. Sahih Muslim contains only 54 chapters against 97 of Sahih Bukhari. Their collections are called al-Sahihain, the 2 Sahih hadith books. By Dr. Iftik Hayu El-Haq 033342570013. Strict criteria to check the authenticity of each hadith by examining its matn and isnad thoroughly. Their 4 successors compiled their books, Sunan of Abu Dawud, 4,800 ahadith, mainly those of legal thinking. Jami' al-Tirmidhi, one of Bukhari's disciples, compiled his Jami' that contained 3,950 ahadith. Sunan al-Nisa'i, another student of Bukhari, compiled 2 Sunans. The larger one contains some unreliable ahadith. The smaller ones, known as the Mujtaba, contains 5,750 ahadith, mostly reliable. Sunan of Ibn Majah contains over 4,000 ahadith, 32 chapters divided into 1,500 subchapters. Sunan Abu Dawud contains 4,800 ahadith, from a total of 500,000. Most of the ahadith deal with the matters concerning legal thinking. His Sunan is considered by most jurists and traditionalists to be next to the Sahihain. He is especially known for his work on the Mursal Hadith, a tradition in which a companion is omitted and a successor, Tabi'i, narrates directly from the Prophet. How matn was checked, language and contents were checked, should contain Arabic language of Prophet's time, must conform to the Quran and other traditions on the same theme, must not belittle or unusually magnify status of the Prophet, should be easily understandable and appealing to common sense, should not go against the laws of nature, should not mention future events, unusual rewards for ordinary deeds, should not give details about a particular individual or tribe, should not mention anything against the Prophet's closest relatives, etc. How isnad was checked? The whole chain must be continuous and unbroken so that the original text was conveyed from the Prophet to the companion and then to the narrators in the chain, first transmitter to the last transmitter in absolute originality. Last transmitter must be a companion who directly received matan from the Prophet, each narrator to be familiar with the preceding and the succeeding narrator. The dates of birth and death of each transmitter in succession should overlap, so that each one surely received the matan from the earlier and conveyed the same to the next in chain. Have excellent memory, to retain original text in its originality. Each in the chain should have spotless character with the repute of an established scholar of the Quran, Hadith, Fiqh, etc. Ilm Asma al-Rijal, science of the men, greatly helped in this regard. Some quotable incidents. 1. Bukhari to convey handsome money from one of his friends to the other. On the other bank of a river, a person with criminal thoughts planned to get the money illegally. While the boat was in the middle of the river, he shouted about theft of his money and mentioned all identity marks of the bag of money. Sailors stopped to bodily search each passenger. Bukhari quietly threw the money into the river, decided to pay the friend from own pocket. He knew even a false charge of theft could disqualify him as a reliable narrator of hadith. 2. Bukhari traveled long distance to collect hadith from a scholar. When reached his home, saw the scholar tempting his horse by showing an empty bag of fodder. Bukhari returned without contacting the scholar, thinking if a man could cheat his horse, could cheat humans as well. 3. Memory skills of the 6 major collectors were repeatedly checked by an audience of thousands, so was their character. Example, none of the narrators should have told a lie even as a matter of joke. By checking matan and isnad, Bukhari shortlisted only about 2,800 from the original stock of 600,000 traditions. Quote incidents related to his memory. By Dr. Iftik Hayul Haq 033342570013. The Sharh Hadith Compilations. For major Sharh compilations of hadith were made during the period of the Buyid dynasty, 932-1062, that ruled Iraq and Persia during the Abbasid Caliphate, compiled about 100 years after the Sunni books. Sharh compilers also relied on matan and isnad, though in a manner different from that of the Sunni compilers. The chain, isnad, mainly consists of the 12 Imams, Prophet's descendants through Fatima and Ali. Matan also is different, sayings of the Prophet as well as those of the Imams. Thus the 12 Imams are not only narrators but also source of guidance for Shias. For compilations of Sharh Hadith. 1. Al-Kafi fi Ilm al-Din, The Sufficient in the Religion, by Muhammad bin Yaqub al-Kulaini, comprises 15,176 traditions, divided into 3 sections. Usul al-Kafi, about the history, morals, and ethics. Furu al-Kafi, about the details of religious law. Rawd al-Kafi, covers various religious aspects and contains a number of writings of the Imams, a total of 16,000 traditions. 2. Man al-Yajurahul al-Faqih, one who has no legal expert present, by Muhammad bin Babuya al-Kumi, contains 9,044 traditions. 3. Tardib al-Arkam, revision of the judgments, contains 135, 4, 90 traditions, compiled by Muhammad bin Hassan al-Tusi. 5. Al-Istibsar, the perspective, also by Tusi, contains 5,511 traditions. Q.A. Write an account of the collection of hadiths during the Prophet's lifetime, and the time of the companions immediately after the Prophet's death. 10. B. In your opinion, what were the main reasons for hadith collections? Give reasons for your answer. 4. ANSA. During Prophet's lifetime. During the life of the Prophet, the educated companions preserved both the Quranic verses and ahadith in their personal notebooks. They would memorize and write down his sayings and instructions, the hadithi kali, as well as his actions, hadithi fa'ili. The companions keenly observed all his actions and way of living. He would often repeat Islamic teachings to various companions. That is why we find repeated matan text with different isnad reporters in the hadith books. In his farewell sermon he instructed his audience, "He who is present here shall carry this message to the one who is absent." Thus was born the tradition of oral transmission of hadith. In the later years in Medina the Prophet gradually allowed and supervised the recording of his hadiths. Hazrat Abu Hurairah reported an incident in which he heard a companion complaining to the Prophet about his difficulty in memorizing the Prophet's ahadith. The Prophet replied, "Call your right hand for help." Similarly, one day the Prophet delivered a speech on the principles of by Dr. Iftik Hayul Hako 33342570013. Manslaughter. Abu Shah, a Muslim from Yemen, requested him, "O Messenger of God, write this down for me." The Prophet ordered his scribes to write it down for him. The Prophet also gave a manuscript containing rules about tax amount to every governor he appointed. The earliest resources of hadith included various treaties, verdicts, and letters of the Prophet written to non-Muslim rulers. One of such earliest documents includes the Pledge of Mercy given in writing to Suraka bin Malik. He was assured protection by the Prophet after he had failed in pursuing the Prophet during the journey of Hijrah. The Charter of Medina and the treaties of Hudaybiyah and Kaaba are also among such earliest hadith resources. Hazrat Abdullah bin Amr bin al-As had a voluminous notebook, as-Sahifa as-Sadiqa. Many prominent companions kept special notebooks with them to note down the Prophet's sayings. They include Hazrat Ibn Abbas, Ibn Umar, Ibn Amr bin al-As, Abu Hurairah, and Hazrat Aisha. After Prophet's death. After the demise of the Prophet, his followers got more enthusiastic about hadith preservation, as they were the best source of interpretation, tafsir of the Quran as well as for the Islamic legal thinking. Moreover, with Islam spreading to non-Arab states, prominent companions began to establish centers of hadith teachings in and beyond Arabia. Hazrat Ibn Abbas settled in Makkah, Hazrat Ibn Masud in Kufa, and Hazrat Salman al-Farsi in Isfahan, Persia, Iran. Similarly, Hazrat Jabir bin Abdullah used to deliver lectures in the Prophet's mosque. Newly converted Muslims in remote territories would seek knowledge of ahadith from them. Many prominent companions who became reporters of hadith were also, therefore, quite young as they dedicated their sharp memories and energies to this noble task. Hazrat Abu Hurairah spent only around 3 years with the Prophet but reported close to 5,400 ahadith. He is ranked on top among all mukathirin, those who reported hundreds of ahadith. On his death several sahifas were found in many boxes. Hazrat Abdullah bin Umar, only 23 at the time of the Prophet's death, reported 2,600 ahadith. He is considered to be the second to Hazrat Abu Hurairah. Hazrat Anas bin Malik, died 93 AH, reported 2,300 ahadith. Hazrat Aisha reported 2,210 traditions. Hazrat Ibn Abbas was in his early teens when the Prophet passed away, but he reported 1,700 ahadith. Hazrat Jabir, another young companion, reported around 1,550 traditions. There were many prominent companions who reported less than 1,000 ahadith. Hazrat Ali transmitted 536, Hazrat Umar reported 537, and the Prophet's wife Salama transmitted 378 ahadith. People like the full rightly guided caliphs reported a much lesser number of ahadith because they had always been very close to the Prophet. So they focused more on understanding the spirit of his teachings instead of memorizing and narrating his sayings. Many of the earliest hadith collections were prepared by the companions and by their descendants or disciples. As-Sahifa as-Sadiqa remained in the custody of Amr bin Shu'ayb, a grandson of Ibn Amr bin al-As. Imam Ahmed bin Hanbal incorporated all ahadith of this Sahifa in his Musnad book. Sahifa Sahihah of Abu Huraira was compiled by Hammam bin Munabi, one of the Tabi'in. Hazrat Aisha's Sahifa was compiled by Urwa bin Zubayr, another of the Tabi'in and one of the 7 scholars who founded the fiqh Islamic law in Medina. Sahih Muslim mentions the Sahifa Jubayr bin Abdullah that contained the details of the farewell Hajj and the farewell sermon delivered by the Prophet in the plain of Arafat. Thus by the end of the first Hijra century A. By Dr. Iftik Hayul Haq 033342570013. Huge stock of ahadith was ready on which the next generation of Muslims worked to finally compile major hadith books. ANS, B. The Prophet was the only authority of a detailed explanation of the Quran as stated by Hazrat Aisha, his morals are the Quran. Therefore, it was essential to collect his ahadith in the form of books in order to provide guidance to all Muslim generations. He demonstrated all Islamic and worldly teachings by his sayings and actions that were not only observed and followed but noted down by the learned companions. Since he was the last messenger of God, it was important to first preserve and then compile his ahadith. With the death of leading companions, their juniors became active in taking care of the treasure of ahadith and make their collections so that the teachings of the Prophet could be available to the whole Muslim ummah. Moreover, the Quran and hadith being in the book form would be easily useful for Muslim legal experts to make laws about various matters. Q. Q. A. Write a detailed account of the Musannaf and Musnad collections of hadith. 10. B. In your opinion, from the 2 hadith collections above, which is the more useful to Muslims? Give reasons for your answer. 4. ANS, A. Efforts were made by prominent scholars to compile hadith books in different ways during the first 2 centuries of Islam. Some hadith books were based on division of chapters regarding particular topics. These were called Musannaf hadith collections, as the word Musannaf means, divided into chapters. Such books are divided into chapters dealing with Salat, Zakat, Hajj, laws of inheritance and other laws concerning the Muslim community. The earliest Musannaf books are are almost entirely lost with the exception of some of the most important ones. The Musannaf of Waqid is known to us only through references. Some of the chapters of the Musannaf of Abu Bakr Abd al-Razak are still intact. Other surviving Musannaf books are those of Imam Abd al-Razak bin Hammam and Abu Bakr bin Abi Shaybah. However, the most remarkable Musannaf book is Al-Muwatta of Imam Malik, 711 AD, 795 AD, a student of Imam Nafi. Imam Malik spent his life in Medina to compile his book in about 40 years. Al-Muwatta literally means, the leveled path that is easier to tread. The book was finally compiled in 140 AH. Like other Musannaf books, it contains ahadith of the Prophet, reports of the companions, and verdicts and traditions of the Tabi'in and the community of Medina, as well as his own judgments based on the Quran and Hadith. There are 40 thaniyat, those ahadith in which there are only 2 reporters between the Prophet and Imam Malik. The book contains a total of about 1,000 ahadith and a little less than 2,000 traditions and sayings of the companions and the Tabi'in. All this selection was made from a total of 1 lakh ahadith. Imam Malik had tens of thousands of students and followers during his life. About 1,400 students studied Al-Muwatta fully and were certified by Imam Malik, and they included highly reputed scholars and legal experts. Many of his contemporary scholars compiled their books but could not gain the fame. That was destined for Imam Malik. Many commentaries of Al-Muwatta were written by several Arab and non-Arab scholars. In the 3rd Hijra century, classic Musannaf books were compiled that included Sahihain, Sahih al-Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, and other books. By Dr. Iftik Hayyu el-Haq 033342570013. By the late 2nd and early 3rd century hadith collectors began to compile Musnad books. The Musnad hadith books are organized on the basis of all ahadith reported by a single reporter, sanad put together under their name, hence the name Musnad. For example, a full chapter of ahadith reported by Hazrat Aisha, another chapter of ahadith reported by Ibn Abbas, and so on. Therefore, in a Musnad collection, there are several repeated ahadith with the same matan but with a different chain of reporters or isnad. Some of the famous Musnad books are those of Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam al-Shafi, and the Caliph Umar bin Abdul Aziz. Musnad Abu Hanifa was compiled by Abu al-Mu'ayyid Muhammad bin Mahmud al-Khawarizmi. The Musnad al-Shafi was compiled on the basis of his Kitab al-Umm and al-Mabsut by Muhammad bin Yaqub. The most famous book in this category is Musnad Ahmad, compiled by Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, 780 AD, 855 AD. Imam Ahmad devoted his whole life to hadith collection. He shortlisted 27,700 ahadith from a total of 750,000 reported by 700 companions. He read out the various parts of his notes to his students and relatives over a period of 13 years. His audience comprised around 5,000 disciples at a time, and included such great scholars as Imam Bukhari, Imam Muslim, and Imam Abu Dawud. He himself learned a lot from Imam Shafi. He wanted to put his notes together but died in 241 AH before accomplishing his noble mission. The Musnad was compiled by his son Abdullah, who edited the notes of his father. He included around 10,000 traditions in the Musnad. These 10,000 ahadith are classified into 5 types. The first type comprised those reported by his father directly, and is the most authentic type. Other types included the ahadith he reported from teachers other than his father. The muhaddithin have various views about such ahadith. Despite this, the Musnad Ahmad remains one of the most authentic and voluminous hadith collections. ANS B. A Musannaf hadith book is more useful for Muslims for various reasons. Muslim legal experts consult such collections to know the legal opinions of the companions and the successors, tabi'in. If a legal expert needs a variety of ahadith and judgments about such matters as marriage and divorce or crime and punishment, he can conveniently avail a Musannaf collection. He simply has to locate the relevant chapter dedicated to the particular matters. Similarly, they can compare the solution with the later mizan of books such as Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim as well as the Quran. Such hadith books are very helpful for the scholars conducting a research on legal matters in Islam and their conformity to the modern world. Moreover, it is easier for commentators of the Quran and hadith to write commentaries on the Muzanaf type of hadith collections. They can compare the